Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, join me, Rob McConnell, as together we'll investigate the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology here on the X-Zone Radio TV show on XZBN and the X-Zone TV channel on Simul TV. Since 1990, the X-Zone Radio TV show has been the place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. Together, we'll investigate UFOs, aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, psychic phenomena, lake monsters, conspiracy theories, government cover-ups, the truth embargo, alien abductions, ESP, haunted locations from around the world, and so much more. With over 28 years of broadcasting and more than 4,500 individual guests, the X-Zone is truly a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, as evidenced by the credibility, integrity, and professionalism of the guests that we bring to our international audience. If you have seen a UFO, had a close encounter, seen a ghost, Bigfoot, lake monster, or a story that you would like to share or have investigated, contact me, Rob McConnell, by sending me your email to xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, or you can call toll-free 1-800-610-7035, extension 143, and on Skype, X-Zone Radio TV. For more information on the X-Zone Radio TV show with yours truly, Rob McConnell, visit www.xzoneradiotv.com or www.xzonetvchannel.com or simultv.com and xzbn.net. Until next we meet here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, always remember, X-Zone Nation, keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show with Gwilda Wiyaka, bringing together today's leading experts to uncover ever-deepening spiritual truths and the latest scientific developments in support of the evolution of humankind. For more information on Mission Evolution Radio with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit www.missionevolution.org. And now, here's the host of Mission Evolution, Miss Gwilda Wiyaka.
Hello, dear friends, and welcome to Mission Evolution Radio Show, where we share innovative thoughts and explore deepening truth in support of the path to unity and enlightenment. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour, we'll be looking at feeding the evolutionary body. Evolution is a question of frequency. The greater bandwidths of frequency we can accommodate on all levels, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, the greater our potential for evolution. Ultimately, there are two basic ways to evolve spiritually. One, clear the issues, blockages, and toxins on all four levels, freeing those levels to transduce increased frequency, or the age-old, tried-and-true method, die, freeing our spiritual aspect to continue its expansion, leaving the physical, emotional, mental restrictions and bodies behind. In clearing issues, blockage, and toxins, we are in effect returning to our original design, that which resonates with the natural world. There's a synergistic relationship between all things that humans have become increasingly detached from, to our extreme detriment. One major area of distortion is our food. You are what you eat. No truer words were ever spoken. Yet our diets have become increasingly toxic, causing systemic inflammation that impacts us on all levels, lowering our overall frequency, restricting our mobility, and with it, our very lives. What are these hidden toxins that threaten not only our ability to evolve, but the longevity and quality of life? With us this hour to discuss this vital topic is Dr. Stephen Gundry. Dr. Gundry is a cardiologist, New York Times best-selling author, and medical researcher. During his 40-year career in medicine, he's performed over 10,000 heart surgeries and developed life-saving medical devices. His book, Dr. Gundry's Diet Evolution, instructs on how to heal and avoid surgery through diet. His second book, The Plant Paradox, outlines a 90-day plan for some of the world's most pressing health issues. Dr. Gundry practices medicine at a Center for Restorative Medicine and International Heart and Lung Institute in Palm Springs and Santa Barbara, California. His website, GundryMD.com. Dr. Gundry, thanks for joining us on Mission Evolution.
Wilda, thanks for having me back.
It's so fun to work together. So I always like to start this one out. How much nutrition was covered in medical school?
I think we had about an hour, and if my memory serves me, basically we said there's proteins, there's carbohydrates, and there's fats, and there's a few vitamins that you ought to know about. End of lecture. Let's get on to important things like pharmacology.
So what prompted you to branch out from being a very successful cardiologist to working with diet and nutrition?
Well, as I talk about actually in all my books, I met a gentleman who I call Big Ed almost 20 years ago now, who had inoperable coronary artery disease. And over a period of 6 months' time, in seeking surgeons or cardiologists to do bypass on him or get stents, and nobody would, he had put himself on a diet and lost 45 pounds in 6 months. When I met him, he was Big Ed. He was still 265 pounds. But he'd also gone to a health food store and bought a bunch of supplements and started taking them. And long story short, in 6 months' time, we got a new angiogram, a movie of his heart, and he had cleaned out, reversed 50% of the blockages in his coronary arteries. Gone. And I had never seen anything like that before. In fact, we don't believe that that could happen, at least back then. And so I radically changed my own diet to a diet I had actually described as my research project as an undergraduate at Yale on how humans evolved from great apes. And I got an honors for my thesis and threw it away. And actually, I gave it to my parents. And when Big Ed described his diet, it was exactly like I had described ancient humans had followed. So I put myself on that diet. I was a big fat guy myself, even though I was running 30 miles a week and going to the gym 1 hour a day and eating a healthy, low-fat vegetarian diet at Loma Linda. And lo and behold, I lost 50 pounds my first year and another 20 subsequently. And I've kept it off for nearly 20 years now. So I started teaching people that I operated on this program, and they had remarkable success in getting rid of high blood pressure and diabetes and arthritis. So that after about a year of this, as chairman of heart surgery and professor at Loma Linda University, I resigned my position and set up an institute, a clinic, where I could teach people how not to get heart surgery in the first place, which is really dumb because teaching people how to eat doesn't pay very much, whereas operating on people, even as a professor at a prestigious institution, does pay the bills. So, but I never regretted it.
Well, I take it, being a physician, you've done some extensive studies on your nutritional findings.
Yes.
What have you discovered?
Well, I've published, over the last 20 years, I've published numerous papers in the American Heart Association journals, in journals of the Atherosclerosis Society in Europe. And basically what I found is that almost everything that happens to us happens because of the interaction with the foods we eat and our gut microbiome. And the most recent book, which just came out this past week, The Longevity Paradox, is really all about if we take care of the bugs that live in us and on us, they will actually take, and that's what's so exciting.
I've heard of some figures, and I can't remember what they are. I don't know if you know them or not. What percentage of us is human cells, and what percentage is bugs?
Yeah, that's a great question. So about 90% of all the cells in us are non-human, and that includes bacteria, worms, protozoas, fungi, viruses. But what's even more startling is that 99% of the genetic information, the genome, is non-human genes. We Actually, human genes only account for about 1% of our genetic material. So as I talk about in the longevity paradox, it's important to understand that we should be taking care of the 99 percenters, because that's actually who determines our fate.
And yet we immediately attack them when we get sick.
Exactly. And, you know, in the plant paradox, my monster bestseller from almost 2 years ago now, we talk about there are a number of what I call the deadly disruptors, which has totally changed our relationship with our microbiome. We've literally destroyed our microbiome. And the microbiome, I like to have people realize that this is really a tropical rainforest of just tens of thousands of different species. If you think of a rainforest, think of all the species of plants, all the species of animals and bugs and birds that are all, interconnected. And the more we're learning about the microbiome and sequencing the various organisms, we know that there's at least 10,000 different bugs that live in us. In fact, a few weeks ago, another 1,000 were discovered that we didn't know about. So the list probably will expand. So this is this amazing forest within us that communicates to us, actually controls much of our emotions. And as the longevity paradox shows, it pretty much controls what's going to happen to you. And we've done these guys a disservice by, like you say, the things that we're eating, how the food that we've been eating has been treated, and something as innocent as taking broad spectrum antibiotics, which is still given away like candy, despite warnings from the CDC and the FDA that we shouldn't be prescribing antibiotics like we do.
It's scary. I mean, it's coming forth that it's not a question of the wrong bugs in there, but rather the balance of bugs. Would you speak to that briefly?
Yeah, we have a huge mixture of bacteria, and they all, if you will, have niches, and they compete for real estate. And very much like the real estate market, it's location, location, location. And as I talk about the longevity paradox, there's certain bugs that actually like to live very near the lining, the gut wall lining, and they like to live in the mucus that lines our gut. In fact, these bugs, they got a hilarious name, Akkermansia mucinophilia. Say that 3 times.
Gesundheit. We're going to have to take a break and talk about Ecro whatever.
Akkermansia mucinophilia.
On the other side of a commercial break. Dr. Gundry and I will return shortly, so don't go away. You're listening to the Mission Evolution Radio Show, coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. It's hard to listen to the news without realizing we're living in volatile, unprecedented times. Yet never has there been such an opportunity to transform the human condition. As old structures fail, where can we find the guidance to co-create a better way? Find Your Path Home is an ever-evolving, leading-edge information, education, and healing resource center designed to support and guide you on your path to unity and enlightenment. Based on sound principles employed by shaman worldwide, we provide techniques that can support you through the current transitions, offering online shamanic classes, international long-distance shamanic healing sessions, complimentary Mission Evolution radio episodes and Stairway to Heaven TV vignettes, seminars, retreats, and much more. All of this can be found on findyourpathhome.com.
So I was watching the X Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she'd come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me. simultv.com, sonny boy.
simultv.com.
simultv.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
simultv.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. simultv.com.
Welcome back. This is the Mission Evolution radio show dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. To stay abreast of all the wonderful information and tools we have to offer, visit our website, missionevolution.org. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka, and our guest this hour is Dr. Stephen Gundry. His website, gundrymd.com. Dr. Gundry, we were just talking about, would you say that word again?
Akkermansia mucinophilia.
So, what exactly are those?
So this is a fascinating bug that it turns out if you look at people who are 105 years old and are thriving around the world, they have a huge number of this bug, Akkermansia mucinophilia. And if you look at a creature called the naked mole rat, which is the longest living rat by far. Most rats live about 2 years. The naked mole rat can live 20, 30, 40 years. And the naked mole rat has a bunch of these Akkermansia mucinophilia. And we now know that the more of these guys you have as you get older, the longer you're going to live and live well. And these guys live in the mucus layer right next to the wall of our gut. And fascinatingly, the more mucus they eat, the more mucus your gut wall makes. And the more mucus you have, the better off you are long term. Because we now know that our gut wall, and if it gets penetrated by particles that I talk about called lectins, or by bacteria themselves or pieces of bacteria, that begins inflammation and the gradual deterioration of us. So the more mucus we have, the better. So the more we support good old Akkermansia mucinophilia, the better. And in the longevity paradox, among other things, I talk about how to give this bug what it wants to eat. And there's lots of good tricks.
Where does this bug come from in the first place?
That's a great question. It actually
we go out going, here, echo, here, boy.
It turns out that that's been tried. Nobody's yet been able to put it in a capsule so that we could swallow it. It actually exists in all of us. But it's kind of like if you think about a neighborhood where a bunch of gang members have taken over and they're shooting up the neighborhood and everybody's kind of hiding in their houses, afraid to come out to get, a stray bullet shot at them. It's the same way with a lot of the friendly bugs like this guy. They tend to hide because, quite frankly, and most of us eating the, standard American diet, the SAD diet, well named, we have mostly gang members in our gut. And those gang members have no interest in taking care of us. They'd rather throw rocks through windows and shoot up the street. And so these good guys actually go into hiding. And the good guys actually like to eat certain long chain sugars, polysaccharides. And we, quite frankly, don't have a lot of polysaccharides in our diet anymore. We eat simple sugars and we eat a lot of saturated fats. And if you're a gang member bug, you thrive on simple sugars and saturated fats. That's what you want.
You know, I've heard that that parasites and your gang members can actually make you crave the very things that they thrive on. Is that accurate?
That's actually very true. We know that they actually send text messages to your brain that says, get more of this stuff. And there's exciting new research that I talk about in the longevity paradox that these guys can actually extract more calories out of the food you eat and pass it into you as compared to the good guys who actually take most of the calories and keep it for themselves and make more of themselves. In other words, have babies, if you will. And so you could actually take two individuals and feed them the exact same amount of calories, and one individual would get fat and the other one would stay skinny depending on the type of bug that's living in their small intestines. And this is, this confirms what, a lot of people have suspected, because, there are skinny people that seem to be able to get away with murder. And then there are fat people who, look at food and gain weight. And one of the really empowering things about, I think, all my books is that it's really not people's fault that this has happened. We've unfortunately promoted all this with the foods that we eat that have antibiotics in them. The foods that we eat have been treated with Roundup, glyphosate, and we can get into that if you like. But the good news is you can change this.
So what's the major obstacle preventing this vital information going mainstream? I mean, we're all sick here.
Well, sickness is good for business. And I have never been a conspiracy theorist, but the longer I'm at this, the more suspicious I am. The New York Times a few years ago did an expose looking at the board of directors of major food companies, major pharmaceutical companies, major medical schools, and major big chemicals like Dow and Monsanto. And they found that these board of directors commingled. And if you think about it, the sicker we are, the better it is for pharmaceutical companies who, if you notice on commercials, almost every commercial on TV nowadays is for a pharmaceutical drug to treat an autoimmune disease that really didn't exist 50 years ago. And for, hospital procedures. Now, I was a heart surgeon and cardiologist. Well, still am a cardiologist. I gave up heart surgery finally last year. But heart surgery, having people sick is good for heart surgery, good for cardiologists, good for drug companies. Statin drugs are still one of the largest sellers of any drug. Antidepressants are the largest sellers.
So it goes back to follow the money.
Yeah, follow the money. In fact,
how is inflammation related to disease?
All disease comes from inflammation, and all inflammation comes from a leaky gut. And if you had asked me that 15 years ago, I would have laughed you out of the room. But Hippocrates, 2,500 years ago, the father of medicine, said all disease begins in the gut. And he was so prescient to know this, and he didn't have all the fancy blood tests that I and others have available to us. But I've and others have reported that when you seal the lining of the gut, inflammation disappears. And autoimmune disease disappears. For instance, last year at this time, I published in Circulation, which is an American Heart Association journal, 102 patients with biomarker-proven autoimmune disease, things like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, psoriasis, Sjogren's syndrome, who went on my program for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, 95 out of 102 people, that's 94%, were biomarker negative for autoimmune disease, and they were off of all their immunosuppressant medications. So that's a pretty good, 94%, pretty good rate.
Are there independent studies on your work?
There's recently been a new study that lectins are a major cause of Parkinson's disease, and that lectins penetrate the gut wall and climb up a nerve to the brain called the vagus nerve and go directly and damage the substantia nigra. There's another big word for you. So yeah, there are now studies that are beginning to confirm my work, which is great.
Where do the lectins come from?
So lectins are plant proteins that are one of the major defense systems of the plant against it being eaten by a predator like us, or its babies, its seeds being eaten. And so the vast majority of mischievous lectins are in grains and seeds. They're also in beans and legumes. They're also in the peel and seeds of the nightshade family: potatoes, eggplants, tomatoes, peppers, and also goji berries are a nightshade. And peanuts are a legume, they're not a nut, and cashews are a bean, they're not a nut. So those are the major sources. And in the plant paradox and in the longevity paradox, I ask people to try to reduce these as much as possible. And if they can't reduce them, an easy trick is that you can pressure cook your food. And pressure cooking will destroy all lectins except gluten, which, believe it or not, is a lectin. And that's actually why gluten is mischievous. It's a lectin.
That's pretty amazing. So good old-fashioned pressure cooker, huh?
Yeah. And the wonderful thing is the modern pressure cooker, like an Instant Pot, is not like Grandma's pressure cooker. My mother exploded.
We're going to have to talk about Grandma's pressure cooker on the other side of a short pause. Dr. Gundry and I will return to our discussion on the other side. So you stay right there. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show. We're coming to you on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net. Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, After the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Welcome back. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show, missionevolution.org, bringing leading-edge information supporting the path to enlightenment. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. We're speaking with Dr. Stephen Gundry, his website, gundrymd.com. Dr. Gundry, we were talking about the good old-fashioned pressure cooker. How does it work that it takes care of lectins for us?
Well, high pressure and high heat actually breaks these proteins apart. The only protein that it doesn't break is gluten, which is very, very resistant to high pressure and high temperature. Interestingly, as I mentioned, I was a chairman and professor at Loma Linda University for many years, and Loma Linda is an Adventist institution, and it's the only blue zone in the United States. And interesting, the main protein that the Adventists eat is a protein called texturized vegetable protein, TVP. And it's made from soybeans that have been extruded under high pressure and high heat into what we affectionately call mystery meat. It can look like anything. In fact, hilariously, there is a wham which looks and tastes exactly like Spam. And the Adventists, clever people that they are, knew that beans were so bad for them, they had to be pressure cooked and extruded under high pressure and high heat. And it's just another point that, you know, the only blue zone in the United States knows that you got to pressure cook beans to make them safe.
So once you've pressure cooked them, are they, once again, a good source of food and protein?
Yeah, they're actually a very good source. In fact, lentils have some compounds that I talk about in the longevity paradox called polyamines. So you can kind of think of polywana cracker or something. Polywana-amine. Polyamines actually are compounds that promote longevity in whole sorts of ways. And lentils are a very good source of polyamines, as are mushrooms. And so have yourself some pressure-cooked lentils and mushrooms, and you're good to go. In fact, there's another very long-lived people that I talk about in my books. There's a village south of Naples, Italy, called Acciaroli. There are more people over 100 years of age in that village than anywhere in the world. About 30% of the population is over 100. And they have a fascinating diet of a lot of olive oil, a lot of wine, lentils.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, a lot of wine, lentils, and anchovies and rosemary. They actually chew rosemary leaves all day long. And the interesting thing about them, despite the fact that they live in Italy, they do not eat bread. They do not eat pasta. So and they do not eat pizza. So they are a fascinating group that have been studied by cardiologists from the University of California, San Diego, very near me. And we know that that diet promotes longevity. And in fact, rosemary is one of the best ways to keep your brain cells alive as you age that there is.
Let's talk a little bit about brains and inflammation. We can get actually inflammation in the brain, can't we?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, inflammation in the brain is now called neuroinflammation, or it is the cause of Alzheimer's. It is the cause of Parkinson's. It is the cause of dementia. And over the past few years, Dr. Dale Bredesen, who wrote The End of Alzheimer's, who I think is probably one of the most accomplished neurologists in the country investigating Alzheimer's, and Dr. David Perlmutter have both become friends of mine. And inflammation in the brain comes from the gut. You're probably aware that over $40 billion have been spent by pharmaceutical companies for treating Alzheimer's, and based on breaking up amyloid plaque and tau proteins. And every one of these has failed. In fact, 2 weeks ago, another large study failed with over $20 billion invested, and that drug company is probably going to go out of business. So everything we've tried has failed. And it turns out that amyloid does not begin in the brain. It actually is produced by bacteria in the gut, and specific bacteria in the gut. And amyloid leaks from the gut and then goes to the brain, where it actually starts the problem. So we've been after the wrong target all this time. It's not amyloid per se, it's the bacteria in our gut that make it. Let me give you another example. The Cleveland Clinic, about 4 years ago now, identified a compound called TMAO, capital T, capital M, capital A, capital O, that damages blood vessels, dramatically damages them. And this compound is actually made by gut bacteria, particularly from certain animal proteins, carnitine and choline, for instance. Choline is in egg yolk, just by the way. And they found that these bacteria make this, and it releases into our bloodstream, and it damages blood vessels. Now, to the Cleveland Clinic's credit, they said, gee, folks in the Mediterranean eat a lot of fish, they eat eggs, they eat cheeses, they eat salamis, and they don't seem to have a lot of heart disease. What's up with that? Well, they found that compounds in olive oil, red wine, and balsamic vinegar paralyze bacteria in our gut so that they can't make TMAO. The bacteria is still alive, but the enzyme systems are paralyzed. And getting back to our friends at Chiaroli and throughout the Mediterranean, they use a lot of olive oil, they drink a lot of red wine, and they use a lot of balsamic vinegar. And lo and behold, these things kept their bugs from making a bad compound. And that's the sort of exciting research that's been done to explain why, certain factors of very healthy people explains why they're so healthy.
Well, a lot of people recently have started targeting or noticing leaky gut as a problem, and so the problem has been stated, but it seems like curing it is not so common. What's the difference that what you're offering to cure it from everything else that's out there?
That's a great question. So how I like people to visualize leaky gut is, let's suppose we're in a rowboat out on a lake, and we get a leak in the bottom of our boat, and water's coming into the boat. So we have two choices. We can get a bucket, and we can start bailing. And if the leak gets bigger, we're going to need a bigger bucket. And we're going to have to bail faster. Now, that's how most leaky gut programs work. They're basically a bailing system. What I propose is lectins, which are these plant proteins, we know attach to the wall of the gut and break open what are called tight junctions that hold the gut wall together. And they are the cause of leaky gut. So to me, it's much easier to put your finger in the hole and seal the hole. And if lectins are a major cause of these holes, getting rid of lectins is the easy way to do it. And in fact, the book has been so successful that you don't have to visit me to seal your gut. You just have to follow the rules. For instance, like Kelly Clarkson had Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and she cured her Hashimoto's thyroiditis by following the plant paradox. She never met me. And she lost 40 pounds in the process. So thank you, Kelly.
So how does our modern day method of shipping unripened fruit and vegetables affect our health?
So it turns out that the plant does not want you to eat its fruit until it is fully ripened, because then the seeds will be encased so that you actually can't digest them, and they will pass through you and you will poop them out with a generous dollop of fertilizer. When you pick fruit unripe, they actually have a high amount of lectins in that fruit. And unfortunately, almost all fruit now is picked unripe. It's shipped so that it doesn't get bruised, and then it is exposed to a gas, ethylene oxide, which changes the color and ripens the fruit. But because it was not attached to the mother plant, that fruit never gets the message to drop the lectins. And that's one of the big reasons that I ask people, please, 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 only locally grown fruit and only fruit in season. Believe it or not, our genetic operating system could not imagine that a 747 could bring blueberries to Costco in February from Chile. And so just don't do that.
Well, we're going to have to take another commercial break. Dr. Gundry and I will be back shortly, so don't leave us now. This is Mission Evolution Radio Show on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xedbn, missionevolution.org.
They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
So I was watching the X-Zone TV channel last night when I was abducted by aliens, and they kept repeating to me over and over again, simultv.com, simultv.com.
What's simultv.com?
That's what I asked them. They had it written on the side of their UFO.
How do you spell that?
UFO.
No, I mean simultv.com.
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 Right. simultv.com.
Interesting that you were abducted by aliens in a simultv.com UFO last night.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Now that you mention it, I remember now last night I was awakened from a deep sleep. My great-grandmother was standing there. She said she come from the hereafter to tell me about simultv.com. She even spelled it out for me.
SIMULTV.com, sonny boy.
SIMULTV.com.
SIMULTV.com, sonny boy.
Wow.
Yeah,
Guys, you'll never guess what my psychic guru just told me.
SIMULTV.com.
Exactly. Are you guys psychic too?
Of course.
We all know about simultv.com. SIMULTV.com.
Welcome back. This is the Mission Evolution Radio Show, bringing together gifted people of service to the world. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. I always love to hear from my listeners. Email me at info@missionevolution.org and suggest a topic or a guest that's on your mind. I'm sure we'll all enjoy them. Our guest this hour is Dr. Stephen Gundry. His website, drgundry.com. So we were discussing how, and I didn't know that they shipped vegetables are shipped raw, basically, and then they're gassed into ripening, but then that doesn't have them change the coating that we can digest them.
Correct.
Is there a way around that?
Yeah, eat locally.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that I think your listeners should know, if they don't already, is that almost all of our wheat, all of our oats, all of our flax seeds, all of our soybeans have been sprayed with Roundup, not for GMO purposes. People associate hearing the word Roundup with the genetically modified foods, but almost all of our commercial grains and beans are now sprayed with Roundup prior to harvest as what's called a desiccant. It's designed to kill the entire plant because a dry plant is easier to harvest, and because of industrialized agriculture, these huge multi-million-dollar harvesting machines, combines, have to be at a particular field on a certain day. And so they control when they're going to harvest by killing the plant on a particular week. Now, nobody washes Roundup off of your wheat or your oats or your rye or your soybeans. These are then, or your corn, these are then fed to our animals, our cattle, our pigs, our chickens, and they're ground up and they're in our breads, our crackers, and you're not told about it because Roundup has been declared safe. It turns out that Roundup was patented by Monsanto as an antibiotic. It was not patented as an herbicide. And we should realize that an antibiotic kills bacteria. And what we now know, unfortunately, is that Roundup is one of the best ways to decimate that tropical rainforest of gut buddies that live inside of us. And research at MIT has shown that Roundup in and of itself produces leaky gut. And you probably saw the chilling facts of about a month ago of 35 oat products in this country, including cereals, granolas, bars, contain very large amounts of Roundup, and nobody told us that it was in there. We also know that, as I talk about in the longevity paradox, if you look at pregnant women, about 95% of them will have Roundup in their urine, and a recent paper showed that about 95% of pregnant women will have Roundup in their breast milk. And so we're awash in this antibiotic that nobody told us was an antibiotic.
Sounds like we're in a world of hurt. I mean, a Roundup is in everything. Isn't it what you just spray your gardens with and then track in your house on the bottom of your shoes for your baby to crawl across the floor?
That's exactly right. And unfortunately, Europe was safe from Roundup, but Bayer Corporation bought Monsanto 2 years ago, and this past year convinced the EU to allow Roundup into the EU. Like you said, follow the money. And So very shortly, Europe will not be safe. I've actually been on some radio programs in Austria and Germany about this very subject, that now it's loose in Europe.
Oh my! Do you know about Australia? Do they have it over there?
I don't know about Australia. It's coming.
Ugh. So what part do GMOs play in here? I mean, I know they have a bad rap with Roundup, but what else is going on there?
Well, again, and I think GMOs were the problem because they were sprayed with Roundup. But now GMOs are really down the line of troublemakers because Roundup is ubiquitous. So GMOs, the problem with GMOs is a great number of GMOs they're altered by adding lectin-making genes. So, for instance, corn carries GMO corn, which is most corn in the United States, carries a lectin-making gene. GMO tomatoes, which are most tomatoes in the United States, contain a lectin-making gene. In other words, these produce more lectins. Why do they do that? Because lectins prevent insects from eating these foods. So good for us, the insects won't eat the foods, but those lectins, we're just a giant insect to lectins. So we're actually increasing the lectin content in our everyday food, which is damaging us by producing more leaky gut.
So if we stay, pressure cooking our legumes, staying away from lectins as much as we can, and eating organic and non-GMO, is that going to go a long ways towards countering this?
Yeah, absolutely. It is really the trick on doing this, and it's been so exciting for me to see tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands who have bought my book and written back that they had tried everything, they'd been to every medical center in the world, and this was finally the trick that turned things around. And that's why I do this. I actually have office 7 days a week. I work Saturdays and Sundays. Because I'm on a mission to stop all this. And the more people that write and say, thanks for doing this, it just keeps me going. And we're on a mission.
Well, rather than evolving, it would appear we're experiencing diminishing returns on all levels due to our diet and, the chemicals out there. What impact is this having on us as a culture?
Well, we are getting sicker and sicker rather than healthier and healthier. In fact, as I talk about in the longevity paradox, for the last 3 years in a row, our lifespan has actually decreased for the first time in recorded history. So we are no longer having a lengthened lifespan. The last 3 years, it has shortened. And in fact, if we look at the data, the baby boomers, my generation, will be the last of the oldest people. That the Gen Xers, my kids' generation, will have shorter lives than the baby boomers, which is really scary. And in fact, as I talk about in the longevity paradox, baby boomers who, number one, never thought they'd get old and always thought they'd live forever, actually are sicker at any year of their lives than their parents were. They're on more drugs, they've had more procedures, and that's really scary. And this is not what was supposed to happen. Now, again, I'm happy that I invented some operations that have, given people good years and kept them alive. But I changed my career because it's so much actually easier to reverse these things, to restore your health by simple changes in food and a few supplements that you can get at a health food store, or you can come to my website, Gundry MD. But in all my books, I actually tell people, sure, I'd like you to take my supplements, but if you don't want to get my supplements, go to Costco, go to Trader Joe's. Here's the dose.
How do you see our world changing if more people become conscious and use this information?
Well, we know that you can change your life at any point in your life. I talk about in my books people who were in their mid 80s, kind of death's door, who changed, and now they're in their mid 90s and vibrant. I talk about one lady who is now 97. She has bright red hair. She's dating an 80-year-old that she thinks is a little too old for her, and she asked me if she can start going out with 70-year-olds. I have a 97-year-old man who carries the Alzheimer's gene, who still runs his company. It's a big company, and he has no intention of retiring. And that's what we're supposed to have. We profile a 105-year-old gentleman who's a cyclist, a semi-professional cyclist in France, who didn't take up cycling until after he retired. And he now has the fitness of a 50-year-old, and he's 105. So it is never too late, but we've got to start.
We've got to start now. We've got to start sometime. And we probably have to start with ourselves, don't we?
Yep, this is where it starts.
Dr. Gundry, as always, time has flown when we visit, but we are out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
And thanks for having me again, and hope we'll talk to you again soon.
I hope so, too. Our guest this hour has been Dr. Stephen Gundry, cardiologist and author of Dr. Gundry's Diet Evolution and New York Times bestseller, The Plant Paradox. His website, gundrymd.com. Remember to join our email family to stay abreast of all the exciting new things we have coming up at missionevolution.org. This has been the Mission Evolution Radio Show with Wilda Wieka on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Join us next time as the mission continues, bringing information, resources, and support to our evolving world.
If you are looking for a safe, zero-calorie natural option to the harmful artificial sweeteners on the market today, Just Like Sugar is what you're looking for. Just Like Sugar is a wonderful natural alternative for those health-conscious people who choose a calorie-restricted diet with a great, pure, sweet flavor that tastes just like sugar. Just Like Sugar is a great natural option for people suffering from diabetes and may be useful in restricted diet programs where standard sugars are not allowed and does not cause a laxative effect of some other sweeteners. Just Like Sugar comprises a perfect blend of chicory root fiber, natural calcium, natural vitamin C, and Just Like Sugar's sweetness comes from the natural flavors from the peel of the orange. Just Like Sugar is a natural alternative to harmful artificial sweeteners and will change the way that you believe all natural sweetener products taste. Just Like Sugar is available at your local Whole Foods markets, Wild Oats markets, Henry's, Sun Harvest, and many other fine natural food stores in the U.S., Canada, and worldwide. They are here, and they've been here for thousands of years, making their presence known in the shadows. They might be seen by a lonely motorist on a deserted road late at night, or by a frightened and confused husband in the bedroom he is sharing with his wife. But who are they? What do they want? Why are they here? Perhaps most concerning, has the government been aware of their presence all along? The new book by Ellie Marzulli, UFO Disclosure, the 70-year cover-up exposed, delves into the world of UFOs. Can full disclosure be soon? Order now and receive a free hour and 37-minute DVD on the UFO phenomenon. UFOs are real. Get both the book and the DVD, a $40 value, for only $19.99. To order your book and DVD today, go to lamarzulli.net. That's LAMARZULLI.net.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.